And we are live. Hello, everyone. It's another episode of Facebook Live in our Facebook page. Today, I have an honor to have Arthur Kolker from STAYFI. Arthur is a founder and CEO of STAYFI, the number one provider of Wi-Fi marketing services for vacation rental companies. Vacation rental managers use StayFi to brand Wi-Fi, collect guest data, and increase direct booking, all while providing the better Wi-Fi experience for vacation rental guests. Arthur, welcome to the Facebook Live.
Yeah, so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for being here today and providing value for our group. Can you briefly explain the importance of direct booking for the short-term rental business?
Yeah, of course. There's short-term direct bookings for short-term rentals have a lot of different benefits. I think what's very typical in our industry is that people get interested in short-term rentals, whether it's their own property or managing on behalf of others, like a co-host. And like most people, people list on Airbnb to begin with. I think over time, what people realize is while Airbnb is a great starting point, there's a lot of ways to optimize your business and make it more profitable. And one of the best ways to do that is to start accepting direct bookings. So obviously, when you accept direct booking, it's going to have better economics for you as a property manager or a host, and for the guest, just because you're not paying Airbnb somewhere between 15 and 18% of your revenue, right? So right off the top, there's savings that you could split between you and guests. And the other piece is if you have a direct booking strategy, it means you're less dependent on the demand from the OTA. An OTA is a online travel agency like Airbnb and VRBO. So while competition may be going up or down, you don't have a lot of control over the prices other people are charging. If you have your own channel to market to of people that have stayed with you, love staying with you, then you can market to that segment of folks to come back and book directly. And then over time, you become less and less dependent on the whims of what's happening on these third-party channels where you just don't have that much control.
Understood. Yeah. I interviewed a couple guests already, and I keep bringing this over and over again when uh, whatever happened in 2019, 2020, uh, Airbnb just canceled all the reservation without asking the hosts, right? So when you have control of your booking, of the people that interact with you, you're in charge. Thank you. Could you describe the core benefits of using service like StayFi to drive direct booking?
Yeah, so like the idea behind StayFi, especially when you're getting started with direct bookings, is that the people that are most likely to stay with you directly are folks that have already been in your properties and love the experience and just want to come back again. So it's obviously a lot easier when nobody knows what your brand is or who you are to market to people that have already stayed there and loved your accommodation. The way we do that is first by helping you collect data from everybody in the property. So just like at a Starbucks or a hotel or an airport, when you use StayFi, every single person has to log in through what we call a splash page to get on the Wi-Fi. And that way, especially if you have a listing that sleeps 6, 8, 10, 15, 20 people, you're collecting not just one email per reservation, you're collecting could be up to 20 plus per reservation, depending on how many people are staying in the listing. So it really grows your audience that you can market to much, much faster. And then the other piece of StayFi that's kind of like the main component of our service is the marketing tools. So when I started StayFi, we just integrated tools like MailChimp, Constant Contact, etc., for where people would actually do email marketing. But obviously, those tools are not industry specific. So now within StayFi, we also have an email marketing and texting tool designed for short-term rentals. So all of the templates, automations, etc., is industry specific and make it a lot easier for folks that have never done email marketing before to get started, especially with things like automations where it's just sending email marketing on your behalf over a set schedule and you don't have to, let's say throw up a newsletter every month, even though that's something that you may eventually want to do once your list gets large enough.
And do I need to have a specific hardware to do that, to collect the emails?
Yeah, so we sell Wi-Fi equipment that plugs into your existing router. So it doesn't matter what kind of internet service you have, from Spectrum to Starlink to cellular. We work with any type of ISP. But we sell this piece device called an access point. It plugs into your router. It broadcasts a new guest network, different from the original network in the home, which you can also keep running. And that's the network that you tell guests to join. And that will get them that splash page to log into the Wi-Fi.
Understood. What are some effective ways to collect guest data to support a direct booking strategy?
Yeah, so I think when I speak to operators, especially those that are at the beginning stage of the journey, the first software anyone who's going to professionally operate short-term rentals purchases is a PMS, or property management software. This would be something like a Guesty, Lodgify, Hospitable, OwnerRes. They're uplisting. There are many companies out there. What these do is allow you not just to list on one channel, but list on all the different OTAs at one time. And what's great now is that all of these tools now include a direct booking website as part of their solution set. So that's made the barriers to set up direct bookings lowered for everybody, since now whatever PMS you use, you can launch a direct booking site. Some even go further and they integrate things like damage waivers, insurance, payment processing. Like Hospitable, for example, has a great bundle of tools where it's basically everything you need to safely allow for direct bookings, especially if you don't want to take on that extra risk, or you think you're getting covered through Airbnb and Vrbo, which is a whole other discussion, but you can be just as protected or more protected with direct bookings. That's kind of like the first piece. And within those softwares, they may have some tools that help you get the email of just the booker. So that's kind of like the starting place where some people are at, is maybe they have some emails from some bookers, but typically not all of them, especially those from Airbnb. The nice thing with STAYFI is when you use our email tool, not only do we pull in data from the Wi-Fi, we also connect to your PMS and we go through all your historical reservations and pull in emails if you have any. So for instance, you use Hospitable or OwnerRes, you sign up for a STAYFI account, we say, hey, let's import any data you have already. That will go through the PMS, pull those in. You can also upload any emails you've collected in a one-off nature. So usually people have like a decent starting place where they've already collected some data. They may not have even realized it. And then obviously if you get the Wi-Fi tool, then you're just going to like 10x the ability to grow this list and start collecting data much, much faster.
Understood. Wow, I'm just thinking in my head, if I have a list somewhere else, I can import it to this tool, right, to do the
Yep.
marketing. Wow, this is huge. Can you discuss the role of email and SMS marketing in promoting direct booking and the best practice for both?
Yeah, so if you think about it, like what's your objective when it comes to email marketing? And in our space, because people typically are not traveling that often, the objective is when somebody's in that trip planning phase, that they remember that you have the ability to accept direct bookings and that there is some benefit to doing so, which typically is going to be a price benefit. Most people set it up like the most PMS tools or pricing tools. They kind of set it up so you have like a base rate, and then when you go and like list on Airbnb, then it adds on all the Airbnb fees. So just the very nature of our business means that direct bookings are almost always cheaper for both you and the guest in terms of those fees you're paying third parties. So there is that like benefit that is so easy to advertise, is making sure that in all your email communication, texting communication, you're driving home that value proposition to the guest, that when they're looking to book and travel to the same destination, that coming directly has that very tangible financial benefit. So if you want to accomplish that, the key thing is to send some type of regular communication so that you're in the guest's inbox at least hopefully once a month. So if you're in there once a month and letting them know about, we launched a new property, it's XYZ event, we have Formula One coming to Vegas, or we have this music festival. I mean, just about any destination in the US, there's some things going on sometimes of the year. So you're just finding that reason to email once a month. And then when the person is ready to make that booking, they go ahead and do that. I actually just did a webinar with a customer who operates out of Branson. She does a lot of family reunions. She gets people coming back 5 years after the first day, but because she had them on that email newsletter, they then booked this, $15,000 vacation in one of her, like she has these like massive 8, 9, 10 bedroom homes. So it's just making sure that you're top of mind so that when they're ready to book, they come back and they know what that value proposition is.
Yeah, you have advantage here, right? Because they already been at your place, they like you, they trust you. All you need to do is just keep the communication going all the time to remind them about you. Hey, just in case if you're thinking to take a vacation, I'm still here. Please,
Exactly.
right? Okay. I'm reflecting on the previous question. You mentioned a couple PMS services. I'm assuming someone that wants to integrate STAYFI, you have the integration in those PMS
Yes.
providers. Yes.
Yes, you technically don't need the integration to use StayFi, right? Because we can collect data through the Wi-Fi and you can do email marketing.
Okay.
We do have customers that only list on Vrbo or Airbnb and promote those listings. So
Just okay.
as a starting place, let's say you don't have your direct booking site set up yet. Maybe that's a goal. You could just promote your listings, and obviously, those people are still going to be more likely to come back and book with you again because you're advertising your OTA listing. Obviously, that's not as ideal as having a direct booking website, right? So that's all the direction that we recommend people moving in. And we have integrations with most PMS just because we want to make sure that we not only are getting access to the Wi-Fi data, but we're also pulling in data you might have in there already so that we can expand your marketing list to be as large as possible.
Understood. Speaking of direct booking websites, how can rental business optimize their websites to compete with OTAs for visibility and user experience?
Yeah, so that's kind of the journey that most people go through is first they're going to start with the website that the PMS offers natively. Quality of these is going to vary a lot by software. I'm not going to name names, but some have better websites than others, and that should be part of your buying process. So if you're looking to get a PMS for the first time or looking to switch, one of the things I would evaluate is how good are the direct booking websites. Go find some examples of other customers. I'm sure you can just look at who their other customers are and like go find their website, see if you like them or not. Then there are many software companies or agencies that build better vacation rental websites connected to the PMS. Some of them are more do-it-yourself plug-and-play tools. That's definitely like the cheaper tier. That would be something like a Crafted Stays, and then there's a few others, Web Ready. Those you would find in your PMS's marketplace. So all of them have these marketplaces of partners. So there's kind of like these do-it-yourself, kind of like a Squarespace, Wix style website where you know are working off some template, but there's more flexibility than probably the PMS website. And then the next level would be hiring an agency. That would be like a Boostly, Realtek, ICMD. Again, those are all going to be listed in your PMS's marketplace in terms of who's kind of their partners.
Mhm.
Those can range from being relatively inexpensive to being, very expensive for like the very custom high-end websites. Typically, it's going to be with somebody who has like 100+ properties under management for like the higher end websites. So there's like a whole range of service providers. PMS is a good starting point, and then maybe you want to look into one of the digital solutions to do it yourself or hire an agency. Just depends what your goals are and how much you want to invest. But there's like a whole range of options out there in the industry.
Understood. Understood. And then, once the customers subscribed, they gave me their list or phone number. Um, Customer engagement and retention. Let's talk about that. How can business leverage personalized marketing to encourage repeat bookings?
Yeah. So one of the nice things that we do at StayFi is when we collect data, we're not just collecting names and emails. We also know things like the property they stayed in, the area that they stayed in, potentially their age, depending on what data you're collecting. And then we also have data from the software as well that we integrate into that. So that way, when you are, let's say we have something in StayFi, which I'll show you in a second, that's the
Mhm.
Wi-Fi welcome email. So you can set up an email that gets sent to every guest when they log into the Wi-Fi. That email, we already integrate a ton of personalization in and do it for you. So for instance, in that email, we'll have their name of the property. If you have guidebooks or upsells, we like automatically integrate those links into the email. So we are trying to make it as easy as possible to have your emails sent through StayFi be already kind of semi-personalized. And then obviously it's about understanding who your guests are. and kind of what are their typical travel patterns. And that's going to vary a lot by destination. So if you operate in Hawaii, you may have a lot of annual travelers where sending a booking anniversary email through StayFi is going to be really valuable because these people, they come to Hawaii for spring break every year.
Mm.
I need to hit them up 6 months before spring break and tell them like, we're going to sell out. If you want the best price and to book directly, now's the time to book. You may operate in, you may be more in an urban environment and you have like traveling nurses. I see people with like, more like a corporate type audience. And for them, they're traveling multiple times per year. And that's just, once you build the awareness around the direct channel, it's pretty easy to get them to switch over all the way to a ski destination where maybe you want to offer incentives to come back in the shoulder season. So you might realize that you have a lot of guests that book only for the ski season, and then you have guests that only book for like summer or like mountain biking, but then you have these shoulder seasons where demand really dries off or dips off. Maybe that's where you want to focus email on. So it's kind of like understanding who the guests are, crossing that and understanding your destination and the patterns, and then seeing how can you use email and text marketing to kind of juice the part of the businesses that need that extra help where you don't and can't get the demand through the OTAs.
And where do you see more engagement in the emails or in SMSs?
I'd say the use cases can be pretty different. So for email, so when someone goes into the Wi-Fi, right, we have opt-in. We have email and text opt-in. Email opt-in is much, much higher than text opt-in. So email opt-in can be in like 70-80% range. Text opt-in is going to be like more 15 to 30% range. So right off the bat, the email audience will be much larger than the texting audience. But on the flip side, the click-through rate in opens doesn't really open on text, but the click-through rate on text is going to be much higher than email. So email might be like 2% click-through rate for a great email. A text could be 10% plus.
Mm.
So it's kind of like one smaller audience, higher engagement. Other one is bigger audience, less engagement. But the types of content can be very different too. So email, because it's a little more invasive, needs to be more, I'd say, typically high value. So things we see people send through text that can be very promising are last minute availability deals because somebody canceled. So maybe you are in a market where there's like a big drive to audience, so not that hard for people to get there. Maybe someone cancels 3 weeks out, or maybe you have one home with one weekend available next weekend. You can send a text out and try to get that booking like right then and there because it's very high value. Email is a little different. Email, you can send much more frequently than text sometimes. Also, it's more of that like billboarding in the inbox can have a lot more design elements to it. So use cases are pretty different. Texting, I kind of think about reserving for some like more high value information that you're sending to guests that are really going to get them engaged because you definitely don't want to spam on text.
I understand. And for the emails, do you do like a double opt-in? How do you validate that the email that was provided is legit email, basically?
Yeah, we don't do double opt-in, but we do partner with this company called Zero Bounce. And so on the email collection form, there's two options. One is if they enter a fake email or an email that Zero Bounce calls like a spam trap or abuse, so it's like could be a real email, but definitely not their email. You can either set it up so that it will reject it or will accept it but not subscribe it to email. So we don't go as far as double opt-in, but we kind of have this happy medium where we'll filter out fake emails as well as like obviously wrong emails. And then you can decide whether you want to force people to enter a real email or just let them on and not subscribe those emails.
Understood. You mentioned that you guys send email, welcome email, and already has a bunch of information. Can you explain how upsells such as guide tours or rental services enhance guest experience and business revenue, please?
Yeah, of course. So in StayFi, we have that I mentioned the splash page, and I'll show this in a second so it'll be more clear. We have the splash page. That's what pops up when the guest logs into the Wi-Fi. Then when they enter the info and hit connect, we have a second page called the home page. The home page you could think of as like a link tree for your rental. So it's going to be a page with a bunch of buttons. It's all the essential information you want to share with guests. Things like a link to a guidebook, which could be a PDF or digital, a link to book this property again, a link to your website. And then we have upsell partners that you can add as well that are free. The two that we have right now are one is called the Hostco. That's to primarily sell your own goods and services. So for instance, you can sell early check-in and late checkout through the Hostco, where a guest requests it, you set a price, and then you can either approve or deny it based on your ability to like actually facilitate an early check-in or late checkout. They also have partner services where you get a rev share. And then we have another partner called Viator, which is owned by TripAdvisor. It's the largest tour and activity marketplace in the world. And you can list tours and activities in your area, top selling ones, or use whatever listing you want to share. And then if anyone clicks through those, you get an 8% rev share. Those exist on the homepage. Obviously, if guests book those and have a great experience, it's going to make your stay more or their stay more memorable. Also, it's nice to be able to offer things like early or late checkout and also make some revenue on those. That's definitely the biggest moneymaker just because you're collecting all of the revenue in those two cases because it's your own service. That homepage I talked about, not only can guests see it when they log into the Wi-Fi, it's also a standalone website that you can send before the stay. So you can send it to just the booker through your messaging service or through STAYFI, which I'll show in a minute. And then you can also send that page in email and text to all the guests when they, let's say, log into the Wi-Fi. So that's one of the links that's included automatically in our, let's say, Wi-Fi welcome email.
Got it. Thank you very much. Let's talk about real world scenario and examples. Could you share a real world example of successful direct booking transformation for a rental business?
Yeah. So we have people come to STAYFI that are at all stages of direct booking. So we have folks starting at STAYFI that have 0%. We have folks that start with STAYFI that are already getting 60 or 70% of their bookings directly. So I'll give kind of an example of both. The first one is someone who already had a lot of success. She's operated cottages in Ontario for like 20 plus years. So already had a very loyal audience. And for her, she wanted to go from being, 70, 80% book direct to 100%. So cottage stays in Ontario, they set up STAYFI in around 20 to 30 cottages. She's collecting thousands of emails. And then by growing her email list during her high season, she now is completely 100% book direct. And then she even was able to expand her bookable season and then use our list and also on OTAs to try to rent out more of the shoulder seasons. And what's cool about our product, you can also turn it on and off. So she has a completely seasonal business where she's closed in the winter. So during the winter, she can basically turn off the subscription on all the properties she's not renting, and she's not paying, obviously, when her properties are not renting. Then the flip side, we have operators like Kaloa Kai in Hawaii. So that's, again, you're dealing with a destination that's going to be, less frequent travel. He was starting sub 10% of all of his bookings were direct. After a year, he got up to 30% of all his bookings are coming direct. And what he noticed, which makes sense, is that not only is like the share of bookings going to be more direct over time, he also saw that his occupancy rate was increasing just because now you have this whole new list to market to. So there's a higher chance you're going to sell nights that otherwise would have gone unsold through if you just listed on an OTA, or you would have had to drop your prices even further to get those nights booked. So that's the other benefit that I think is potentially even bigger, is just using this list to book those nights that otherwise may not have been booked through an OTA at all. And obviously that's a ton of incremental revenue if you're able to fill those extra nights that otherwise would have been not booked.
Empty, yeah. So if I have multiple places, right, cottage A, cottage B, cottage C, and each of them have the hardware, right, and STAYFI there, when I collect the email, does it go to one UI and one email list, or you can separate them because they have different audience?
Yeah, so within STAYFI, two things. One is the splash page and homepage. So like what the guest sees when they log in is completely customizable by property. So you can say, welcome to property A in city B, whatever it is, enjoy your stay. And then the homepage with all those extra extras is going to be unique as well. And then they're all going to go into the email marketing list. But the email marketing list has a bunch of different variables associated with each guest, and one of them will be property name and the other one will be property group. So property name would be literally like property ABC, but let's say you operate in Miami and Orlando, then you also see like property A Miami, property B Miami, and then property C Orlando. So that way you could also segment by like a bigger grouping, which would be like the city or group level, which some people also do as buildings, communities. The group is totally flexible to whatever makes sense for your business.
Understood. Um, how should business handle seasonality, like in your example, right? In booking and adjust the direct booking strategy accordingly.
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things you can do when it comes to seasonality. So one thing one thing we see people have success with, and I would also recommend is, let's say you have a very high demand season. And so you know that regardless, you know that when you book just list on OTAs, these listings are going to get booked pretty much no matter what, because this is your biggest season of the year. Something cool I've seen people do is they actually, let's say they typically open 12 months out.
Mhm.
13 months out, they'll actually just open these nights on their direct booking site, and then they'll email their list and say, hey, for 1 month, it's only available direct, and then we listen on OTAs. So the idea is the farthest out as possible, we're going to try to drive as many direct bookings as we can before we kind of release it to the general audience or general public, right? That's one cool strategy. The other thing is, which I mentioned before, is really using the list to target your weaker months.
Mhm.
So if you know you have low season where you struggle to get bookings on OTAs, or you have to drop the price so much, is it really worth it? Or your owners, if you property manager, are not going to be happy. The direct booking audience is a great way to try to advertise those nights too, or that season too, to see if you can drive more demand by figuring out what in your community might be compelling to have a good reason to come at that time of year.
Understood. Um, is there anything else you would like to share before the presentation that you have? Did I?
No, I'm just
Yeah.
I think I can just dive into the STAYFI tool so
Okay.
people have a little more like tangible understanding of how it works
Sounds good.
and what the setup process looks like.
All right.
Sweet.
All right.
Um,
I can see your
also,
desktop.
yep, you can see it there. Perfect. I'm just going to start with explaining the Wi-Fi setup process because that's what we get a lot of questions on. So I just want to make that clear here. So to order use STAYFI, I talked about this device, which is called an access point. This device, which you purchase on this page or through our store, we have different models ranging from $99 to $200. This is what's going to broadcast the Wi-Fi in your property. And we just have different models that can accommodate different size properties.
Mhm.
But basically what happens is we ship you this device, it plugs into your existing router, and it broadcasts a new guest network, which you set the name of in STAYFI. And so all you need to do is once you plug this device in, you'll see this new guest network, and you just change your Wi-Fi instructions to join this network, and you can actually keep your old network running in the background. So if all of your TVs and door locks and thermostats, pool controls, whatever it is, they can stay in the existing network. You don't have to fiddle with those. They'll just be a new network, and that's what you want guests to join so that they obviously aren't joining the old network, and then that defeats the whole purpose of capturing their information. Then within STAYFI, the first thing people typically set up is what we call the Wi-Fi experience. This is what guests are going to see when they log into the Wi-Fi. And like I mentioned before, this is really two steps. The first step is the splash page. So this is what it looks like. This is what the guest sees on their phone or computer. And all of this is customizable within STAYFI. You can change the logo, the background image, the text here, as well as what data that we're going to collect. Here we're collecting name, email, phone number. We have the opt-in for email and text, which are pre-checked. In this case, this person's also concerned about children, so they have an 18 and over checkbox, and then we'll only mark it to people that are 18 and over. Once the guest hits the splash page and hits connect, then they're taken to the home page. This is the page where you can have all of those buttons for things like guidebook, book again, visit our website. In this case, this has the Hostco set up. So from one click, you can, let's say, purchase late checkout, and it actually takes you right to our partners page to purchase late checkout. And we walk you through how to set all of this up in STAYFI. So someone can go and request this, and then you'll get the email alert to either approve or deny it. And if you approve it, you'll collect, in this case, $50, but you can set whatever those prices are, obviously in the Hostco. And then the other one we have is Viator. So that would be this local attractions tab. and that's where you can see all the different local attractions through the Viator system, where you'll get that 8% rev share. Super easy to set this up within STAYFI as well, and it's all unique by property. The way that it works in practice is we have like a template. So first you define the template that you want to have for each property, and then we have either you can edit them one by one, or we also have these nifty bulk editors. So if you have like a ton of properties and you want to edit them, you can all do it from here. So if you have to edit 20 of them, you can do it all from this one little spreadsheet here. Other thing about the homepage to kind of consider is that we also have, if I look at this one again, sorry about that.
No worries.
We have early check-in. So you might be wondering if they're seeing this when they log into the Wi-Fi, how are they supposed to know to purchase early check-in, right? Because that's happening obviously after they're already there. We have this tool called pre-arrival messaging. This will allow you to send a message through your PMS, or you can also just copy and paste these manually, where you can send this message to the booker. So this will get sent through Logify, which will then send it through like Airbnb, Vrbo, Direct, whatever channel they booked in. And it will send this message, in this case, 7 days out. And you can say like, hey, book early check-in here, and then they'll have access to that homepage I showed you, at least the booker will, prior to the stay. So you can now send that in advance to try to sell more early check-in. We have folks selling like hundreds or thousands of dollars of early check-in every month, as that is the most popular amenity that people purchase in advance.
I have a question about that, if you don't mind. So if somebody purchased, can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. If somebody purchased early check-ins, does this send, and I approved it, for example, does it send email to my cleaner saying, hey, somebody will check in earlier, so you don't have time until 3 p.m. You need to have this place clean until, hypothetically speaking, 1 p.m.
No, so that's stuff that you will have to do through your PMS or whatever service or other tool you're like Turno, whatever, however you're managing your cleaners, right? So obviously don't approve it if you can't actually fulfill the early check-in, right? So I would check with the cleaners first before you approve the early check-in.
Understood.
Yep. Okay, so now going back to the Wi-Fi piece, once the data is collected from guests, it gets added here to this guest list, which then you can export as a CSV. So you can see here, this is all fake data, but name, email, phone number, 18 over, valid emails, properties there, etc. You'll also see in here PMS. This means we pulled the data in from your property management software. So like I mentioned before, the guest list will be like, basically anytime we see a real email, we'll pull it in here, whether it's from the Wi-Fi or from your software. Then you have a few options in terms of what you want to do with this data. One, like I mentioned before, you can send it to a third-party email tool. So let's say you love MailChimp, you can send it to MailChimp, whatever you'd like. We also have Zapier. So if it's some tool that's less common, typically, at least they all have Zapier. You can always connect through that as an option. Then, of course, we recommend, obviously, is you use our own email marketing tool, because in here we'll sync in the Wi-Fi data from your PMS. Here it shows Logify, as well as you can import your own data via CSV. You can also set up forms on websites. You can also collect visit web traffic visitors as well. And then down below here, these are what we call our like one-click email builders. So in this tool, I'll show you in a second, you can build a ton of custom templates, and you can be as creative as you want. But we have in here, some of these are pretty new, some very like simple one-click email builders for folks that don't want to design a complicated email. So as an example, like if I want to send a newsletter here, I just pick one of these layouts, and then we essentially build this newsletter for you, where we have a bunch of sections that you can pick from here on the left. So it'll be like main image, add an image, title, intro text. We have this book direct thing. Let's say I don't want to feature properties in this one. I can just deselect this. I don't have feature activities. I can just not select this. And then we have another one for like property management. I can not select that. So you can send a very simple email, or you could send a very complicated, you can use all of these properties. Maybe you just want to feature 2 properties, right? So we kind of build these emails specific for short-term rentals, and then you just fill in the details that you want to see in here. So similarly, that's how we build like the welcome email that I mentioned. So this one's already set up, but you can send we send an email right when the guest logs into the Wi-Fi, and that looks something like this. So here's one that's been set up, and then we'll have links to the homepage right here and your guidebook. So that way guests will get easy access to that right when they log into the Wi-Fi. And then of course we have in here, if you don't want to use, or you want to do something more creative, we have tons of additional templates in here that you can pick from.
Understood.
Yeah, so just like a MailChimp, a billion different templates,
Right.
as well as setting up more complicated automations. So all of that's available in here as well.
And
And
those
then,
templates are unique
mhm,
for STAYFI, correct? It's not because I was integrated with MailChimp, for example. It's
yeah, so
unique.
this is all of our own StayFi
Understood. Okay.
templates. Yeah, but these ones here, the one-click ones,
Mhm.
we're adding more here every month. So these are like the fastest and now most popular ones within StayFi, just because they're so industry specific.
Understood.
And then the text marketing piece, which I shouldn't forget, is basically two types of messages. We have some automated messages, and then we have some group texts. So one automated message is the welcome message. So again, just like an email, we'll text the guests, hi, first name, find activities here on our homepage, and then hopefully they will go ahead and book some of those like Viator tours where we get an 8% rev share and see information in your guidebook. And this way you're getting them in front of all of your guests. And then we actually have this rate and review flow. So one thing that a lot of operators want is to collect more 5-star reviews on Google. You probably have a great process already to collect them on the OTAs, but the Google business page is a great way to get higher or help your SEO or your search engine rankings. So here we have this nice feature where after a certain number of days, you can ask the guest to rate your stay. And if they rate you 5 stars, you can then ask them to rate you on Facebook or Google or some other site. And if they don't rate you 5 stars, you can actually collect private feedback here. So a lot of people actually send this like 1 or 2 days into the stay, and that way they collect any negative feedback before the guest leaves. And then all of that's available in here, so you can actually address negative feedback during the stay, so they don't end up leaving it on, let's say, Airbnb or Vrbo.
Being
And then,
proactive. I love it.
yeah, and then finally, you can just send a text to all of your guests. Only thing I didn't mention or big thing is Wi-Fi monitoring. So just one other two nice things to know is with StayFi, we're always measuring the number of unique guests in a property at any time. And so within StayFi, you can set up an occupancy alert. That occupancy alert can even be tied to your current reservation. So we will actually tell you if there's more guests in a property than are currently booked. And then the other piece is you can set up Wi-Fi outage alerting. So you can get alerted to both the internet coming online and offline in any of your properties. And then you have like historical access and data of for the last 10 days, how much the internet's been online or offline. This, as I said before, is a test account. So this one shows as offline.
Understood. We have 5 minutes left. I have one question in the comments, and I have two questions for you. Let's go with the question that came. What was the link where you get 8% of the activities booked?
Yep. So when you go into StayFi and you go to edit homepage template, so you're setting up your homepage for the first time, you're going to want to turn on Viator. Then we will send you instructions to join the Viator Viator affiliate program. I'll show you a real life example because it wasn't working in this test one. So this is the home. This is a home page for somebody that has Viator. And so when you hit, and this guy actually, interestingly, like he has his own custom buttons he created. So he made this one here, like $1,000 refund when you buy a home with us. So this person's also a real estate agent. So he will, this will actually go to his real estate page. But going back to the local attractions, so when I hit local attractions here, it will open this page here. And these are all the ones he selected from Viator. So if anyone clicks one of these and books within 30 days, you get an 8% rev share. So you just turn on Viator, we show you how to set this up. And then when the guest comes in here, let's say they want to do this like private dolphin tour, it will take them, right here and they can, book it. And then you'll get that 8% rev share.
Understood. Thank you so much. Question for you. How many emails can StayFi contain, I guess, or have?
As many as you want. So we actually have several customers that have 500 plus properties under management, and they have collected each over 100,000 emails through
Wow.
STAYFI, which is kind of insane. Um, and so the way that we charge for it, I'll just kind of do a and maybe with the pricing, right? So people can see
Please.
what that looks like. Um, Basically, we sell STAYFI as kind of two pieces. One is the Wi-Fi email data capture piece and monitoring. That's charged on a monthly basis based on the number of access points in your account. So let's say you had 10 access points across 10 properties, that would be $95 a month. This has volume pricing, so as you add more, the monthly cost per device goes down. Uh, that you could integrate with MailChimp, Constant Contact. You can send the data anywhere you want. Then let's say you want to use our email tool. We charge based on the number of contacts in your database. It is actually free up to 200 contacts. So if you have STAYFI in 3 properties and you have 150 emails in your database, you would just pay for the 3 properties, so $36, and the email service would be free. And then when you go over 200, it costs $7.50 a month, up to 500 contacts, and then so on. So as your contact list grows, the cost of the email tool goes up, but then you get unlimited email sends to your list.
Understood. Thank you very much. If somebody wants to learn more about the product or reach out to you or your team, where should they go?
Yep, so I definitely recommend going to STAYFI and hitting get started and just creating an account.
Oh,
STAYFI is free until you actually start using the service. So that's till you buy a device and set it up, or you get over 200 emails in your database. So you're more than welcome to go to STAYFI, create an account, take a look around, and think if it's right for you. And then, of course, if you want more info, on our demo page here, you can actually schedule a demo with our sales team. So we have one link for 3 to 19 listings, one link for 20 plus. If you have less than 3 listings, I definitely recommend just getting started, trying to use it on your own, and then you can email support or contact support there if you need more help. Um, most people are able to set it up without any questions because all the steps are kind of laid out for you very clearly. But of course, support is available if you need some extra assistance there.
thank you very much. And I'm gonna put my referral link as well. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, if they subscribe through my affiliate link, they get 50% discount rate for the first 3 months. Is this
Yes, you
correct?
should have a code as well, which I
Oh,
think is
okay. I think my promotion code
is
is
Levi, Levi.
yes,
Yep, yep.
yes.
So when you sign up for STAYFI, there will be a coupon code slot as well, and then use that LEVI code, and you'll get 50% off the software for 3 months. So that's both the subscription for Wi-Fi as well as the email marketing subscription. So if your list is larger than 200, you'll get half off that. And then all of the hardware is a one-off purchase. And like I mentioned before, on our pricing page, you can also find those devices here. Uh, and once you set up for an account, we also explain kind of like based on the size of your property, which of the devices is appropriate for your size home.
Understood. Thank you so much. We're at time. It was great information. I learned tons. I appreciate your time today, Arthur.
Yeah, and thanks so much for having me. Yeah, and feel free to go ahead if you do have questions, go to that demo page, book a demo with us, or just go ahead and create a STAYFI account as it's pretty self-explanatory. And then, of course, if you have questions, you can just email support@stayfi.com and they'll be able to help you right away.
Have a great weekend. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend as well.
Bye bye.